Every Christmas dinner at our family home in Seattle, Washington, followed the same exhausting script. I'm Harper Evans, 33, a freelance architect who supposedly barely scrapes by. My sister always stole the spotlight with her latest spa expansion, while my parents praised her like she invented success itself. This year, as soon as I walked in with a simple bottle of wine, my sister smirked and announced loud enough for the whole table, "Harper, everyone, still the family's biggest loser, renting that cramped studio and designing logos for pennies." Laughter rippled around the room, my father nodding approval, my mother adding, "At your age, we expected grandkids and a real career, not this hobby." I set the bottle down, forced a tight smile, and took my seat, heart pounding, but voice steady when I said, "Merry Christmas to you too." Aunt Grace caught my eye across the table, her subtle nod, the only hint she knew what was coming. My phone buzzed in my pocket, a text from my investor. "On my way with the papers, hold tight. If your family ever introduced you as the failure, drop a comment below and tell me how you handled it. Hit subscribe and the bell so you don't miss the revenge." I slid into my chair, ignoring the side eyes, and poured myself some water while my sister kept rolling. She leaned forward, flashing that fake smile, and said, "Listen up, everybody. My new location in Bellevue opens next month. Full staff, celebrity clients already booked." My father beamed and added, "That's my girl turning nothing into an empire." My mother chimed in, right after, "We're so proud, unlike some people who can't even afford a decent place to live." The digs kept coming, cousins chuckling, until I finally asked, casual as hell, "Whatever happened to the family trust? You told me 5 years ago it was empty." My sister's fork paused midair, but she recovered fast and laughed it off with, "Oh, please. We used what little was left to keep the lights on. You wouldn't understand business." My father nodded hard, backing her up. Exactly, sacrifices for the ones who actually try. Aunt Grace cleared her throat and muttered under her breath, "They're full of it. Check your old emails." I excused myself to the hallway, pulled out my phone, and there it was, a forwarded message from my sister to my parents. "Make sure Harper gets 0. She doesn't deserve a dime." Another text from my investor popped up. Pulling into the driveway, now got the term sheet and the check. I slipped the phone away, walked back in, and sat down like nothing happened, already feeling the ice settle in my veins. My mother passed the potatoes and said, "Pass these to the failure on your left. We don't want her starving in that shoebox studio." I took the bowl, smiled thin, and replied, "Don't worry, Mom, I'm about to eat just fine." The doorbell cut through the chatter like a knife, and my father wiped his mouth before heading to answer it. He swung the door open, and in walked my investor, carrying a leather briefcase, dressed sharp in a tailored coat. My sister's eyes narrowed as she asked, "Who invited the suit?" He ignored her, scanned the table, and locked eyes with me before saying, "Harper, perfect timing. We need to finalize before the board signs off tomorrow." My mother stood halfway up, confused, and muttered, "Excuse me, this is a private dinner." He set the briefcase down right in front of me, clicked it open, and pulled out a thick folder stamped with the company logo. My father peered over, trying to play host. "Can I get you a plate?" "No thanks," my investor replied, sliding the folder my way, "but Harper's about to close a deal that'll change everything." My sister snorted and said, "Her designing coffee shop menus." Give me a break. He didn't flinch, just flipped to the first page and announced, "Actually, her firm's valuation hit $50 million at IPO filing last week, and my fund's buying 40% for $20 million cash." The room froze, forks hovering as he placed a certified check on the table made out to me. Aunt Grace leaned back with a satisfied grin, while my mother gasped, "$20 million." My sister lunged for the check, but he blocked her hand smooth and said, "Touch that, and it's wire fraud, sweetheart." I finally spoke up, voice flat. "Remember the trust you said ran dry. I paid it back every cent. 5 years ago. Here's the bank statements." I pushed printed transfers across the table. dates matching their spa deposits. My sister snatched the statements anyway, scanning them frantic, her face turning red as she stammered, "These are fakes, you printed them off some site." My investor pulled out his phone, tapped a few times, and held up the live banking portal showing the exact transfers from my account to the trust 5 years back. My father grabbed the device, squinting hard, and whispered, 1.2 million every penny. My mother clutched her necklace, voice shaking, when she asked, "How could you hide this from us?" I leaned in close and said, "You stole from the wrong sister. Here's the receipt for every cent you thought was yours." I slid over the email printout where my sister begged my parents, "Cut Harper out completely. She'll waste it on her stupid drawings." The table erupted, cousins gasping. My father slamming his fist down, yelling, "Quiet, all of you." My sister tried standing, pointing at me, but my investor cut her off smooth. "Sit-down fraud's a felony, and these wires trace straight to your spa accounts." Aunt Grace finally spoke up loud. "I warned you years ago, but you called me jealous." My mother turned on her, snapping, "Stay out of this, Grace." I pulled my recorder from my pocket, hit play, and my parents' voices filled the room. From last month, once the IPO hits, we move into Harper's new place she owes us. My sister lunged again, screaming, "Turn that off." But I held it steady and replied, "Too late. Evidence is locked with my attorney now." My father's chair scraped back as he stood, face purple, demanding, "You set us up." "No," I answered. Calm. "You set yourselves up the day you drained the trust for her failing business." My sister dropped to her knees, right there on the carpet, tears streaming as she begged Harper, "Please, it was a mistake. We can split the money." I stepped back, avoiding her grab, and told her, "Get up, you chose this when you forged the withdrawal slips." My father tried interrupting loud enough, "She's your blood." But my investor waved a cease and desist letter he'd pulled from the briefcase, adding, "Blood doesn't excuse fiduciary breach countersuits already drafted." My mother wailed, clutching the table edge, and pleaded, "We only wanted the best for both girls." I hit play on another clip from my phone, their voices clear from 2 weeks ago. "Once Harper's tied up with the company, we list her condo under our names. Easy flip." Cousins started whispering phones out, recording while Aunt Grace stood beside me saying, "Told you they'd never change." My sister crawled closer, sobbing, "I'll pay it back every dollar, just don't ruin me." I looked down cold and answered, "You ruined yourself the second you lied to my face about the trust." My father lunged toward the check, but my investor blocked him firm, stating attempted theft on camera securities outside if needed. My mother collapsed into her chair, muttering, "What have we done?" I gathered the papers, tucked them away, and declared, "This ends tonight. No more contact, no more lies." My sister kept pleading, voice cracking, but I turned my back and headed for the door, the weight lifting with every step. Aunt Grace followed me out to the driveway, slipping into the passenger seat of my investor's sedan as he held the door. He handed me the signed term sheet and said, "Congrats, the 20 million wires at market open." I nodded, tucked it into my bag, and drove off with them, leaving the chaos behind. 3 months later, my sister's spa chain filed bankruptcy after vendors sued for unpaid invoices tied to the trust funds. My parents downsized to a 1-bedroom rental in Tacoma, selling their house to cover legal fees from the countersuit I filed for breach of fiduciary duty. My attorney served the papers personally, and the judge ruled in my favor, awarding full restitution plus damages. My sister tried calling once from a burner phone, voice desperate, but I blocked the number without listening. Aunt Grace moved into my guest suite downtown, helping oversee the firm's expansion into sustainable urban projects. My investor hosted a launch event where I announced a new initiative funding architecture scholarships for underprivileged students named after the trust they tried to bury. Family betrayal cuts deepest, but truth pays back with interest every time. Document everything. Trust actions over words, and never let liars rewrite your story. That's the lesson I live by now. Thanks for listening. If family ever stole from you, comment your story below. Subscribe, hit the bell, and share so others learn to fight back.